This episode of Kind of Funny Gamescast is brought to you by what, Greg?
Video Blocks!
Video Blocks, my favorite stock footage website. We've talked about it many times. Use it, Kind of Funny Live 1 and Kind of Funny Live 2. Will I use it for Kind of Funny Live 3? The answer is yes. You can go there 100% royalty free even after your subscription comes to an end. So it's a subscription-based thing. You go in, you get unlimited, get whatever you want. There's also audioblocks.com.
Do me a favor and shut up. Guess what, everybody? I used Video Blocks in the Vita relocation program.
You did.
You think I filmed a family at the beach? I didn't.
Funniest moment of the video.
Thank you.
It was great.
Wait, hold
it was
on.
fantastic.
I was in that video.
Video Blocks is offering you all a year subscription to both Video Blocks and Audio Blocks for only $149. This is a $100 discount off the usual price tag for our followers only. An incredible discounted deal to get both stock video and audio. Get your subscription today for only $149 at videoblocks.com/Gamescast 2016.
I can't see it all.
That's videoblocks/Gamescast 2016 for this discounted
You're not
offer.
making it better. You're making it worse. See, my head's blocked now. Video Blocks. Can we make them stock footage? We should make them some stock footage.
Of what? So transitioning over there.
Oh!
Second topic of the day. Last Guardian review. I beat The Last Guardian. Never thought I could actually say that.
How long did it take you?
I don't have
Ballpark.
the actual thing, but I would say 11, between 11 and 13 hours.
Okay.
Somewhere in there. Let's go 12. I'm going to throw down a solid 12.
Okay.
I'm not the best when it comes to these puzzle games.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of, what the hell am I doing? Running around, trying to figure it out. Before we get into the whole discussion, how much have you guys played of this game?
Played about an hour.
Yeah, I did a night of it, so I want to say 3 hours, maybe a little bit more.
Cool. So obviously, I'm assuming you guys don't love it.
Right.
I don't dislike it. I just it just didn't grab me. I found it to be I think the best word to describe it in my opinion is cumbersome, and I just wasn't having fun.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't think it's bad. I just
the way I describe it right is frustrating, antiquated, and pretty. Like it's for me, and this is like the whole thing with what The Last Guardian is, right? Is that it feels like a PlayStation 2 game. And I'm so over that kind of gameplay of ramming my head into a wall, not even because I can't figure out the solution, but because I can't make the fucking creature do what I want it to. And as I'm doing this, I'm having like Vietnam flashbacks to Lair, where I can see myself making the argument. Because like it's all right, cool. Like I early in that night, you unlock the power to get on Trico and basically drive him, right? Or direct him where you want him to go and make him jump over things. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now the game's going to pick up a little bit. It'll be easier for me to reach things. And it happens right as you get to that broken bridge. That's the first point. And I walk him up to it, and we walk to the edge, and I'm like, jump. And he just stares at it. And I'm like, jump. And he just stares at it. And I'm like, okay. And I back him up. I'm like, jump. And he just jumps straight up and straight down. And I'm like, oh, fucking Jesus. What the? And I'm like, maybe this isn't right. So I fuck around for 10 minutes trying to make him go, no, that's not it. Come back again. Jump. No, go. Come back. And he jumps. And it's like, all right, put yourself back into the PS2 days of there is going to be a fucking spot an invisible spot I need to hit to make these things happen. And it was as soon as you get to the other side, okay, I need to get up there, jump. And he's like, jump, and like move him around like this huge fucking tank guy. Finally jump. Okay, there he is. That gets me up there to move over there to do this. And it's just like that frustration building on top of, okay, cool. Like I'll take him into these areas, right, where take him in these tight corridors and going through, and the camera's fucking wigging out and breaking and flying all around him. I'm like, okay, cool. Oh, hey, there's a barrel. I'm supposed to give him this barrel. That's what I do. Turn around, throw it at him for him to bite it out of the air, hits him in the face, falls on the ground. He doesn't bite it. I'm like, oh, yeah, I grab it, place it in front of him. He does the thing where he walks over, but then he gets all awkward about it, and then he like goes down and he comes back up, and I'm like, what is the fucking problem? And I'm like, is he full? Is this a mechanic I don't understand? Is there a health bar on him? His eyes are a different color. Is that part? I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, wait a second. Walk it to a giant open area, put it down. He comes over and gets it. I'm like, oh, in the corridor, there's not enough space for your animation to play. You have no animation from the developer. It's a video game that reminds me over and over and over again that it is a video game, and it's a video game from a different time period where I'm just like, oof, no, I cannot do this. It's pretty. I totally understand. People are like, oh man, and you get there and there's a story at the end and it's this journey. And I'm like, I totally get it. And But even talking about it now, I am getting frustrated at it. And I don't play games for that experience. I don't play games to run my head into a wall over and over again. And especially, and it'd be different if it was The Witness. And again, another game that I was like, I played and I was like, it's very pretty, it's very cool, not a game I want to play. But I'm not getting stumped by the puzzles. I'm getting fucking pissed off at the mechanics. You know what I mean? And that's enough for me to be like, you know what, this isn't fun and I'm out. I don't want to play this.
Yeah. I mean, I can agree with you to an extent that it is a frustrating experience overall. And there's a lot of stuff. Definitely did not have the same experience you had where it's like there was points of like, why isn't this happening? But it's just like many of the times I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna give it to them because this thing is supposed to be like an animal, and it did feel like an animal not listening to you. And
but I know that it's not. I can see the strings.
Like, I don't know. Like I started to learn the rules, and it didn't ever to me feel like, oh, this is a PS2 game and the animation can't play here. It's like, no, he's not comfortable eating in a small quarter. You need to bring it out in the wide thing, and it felt the game pushed me in a direction where that felt believable to me.
Okay.
I started understanding the rules of how to go about all that stuff. For me, Last Guardian at worst is a good game, at best is a great game. But I don't think that there's ever enough points for it to hit either of those to be consistently one or the other.
Sure.
There's things about it that are bad, but I think that they're so few and far between that they're all just like kind of like they're just cons to the experience, not so much like things that ruin the experience.
When I put up the tweet, the three, adjectives, right, of frustrating, pretty, whatever the other one, I forgot what I said originally. But, damn it, now it's going to piss me off. I said it was frustrating, antiquated, and pretty. And people it's funny because, it's been so long since we get to cover everything we love. When we play something we don't necessarily like, we don't really do anything with it, or we know we're not going to cover it because why would I go play that, right? And like Final Fantasy, I'm like, enjoy the combat, don't like this, and I'm out, and I don't have to have anything. But for this to come out at the review embargo, post basically a review in 140 characters, right? The people who were like, fuck you, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that this kind of shit exists. But then also the people who were like, kind of had the point, but kind of like, fuck you, you didn't like Shadow or Eco. And I'm like, oh yeah, I like them fine, I respect them fine, didn't love them. Like, so your second half actually makes a lot of sense. And this is, again, why it always blows my mind when people get mad at anybody having a different opinion on a video game, where, because then it was all people throwing the scores at me from like, oh, well, the GameSpot gave it a 9, and there was a bunch of other 9s. I'm like, well, IGN gave it a 7, but that's beside the point in the fact that you know me well enough. You know that I wasn't, I'm not somebody who like loves Shadow. I respect what it is. I think it's overhyped as an amazing game, but it's one of those, where I stand on it, right? So I think Marty loves those games, right? So Marty 7 should mean more to you, or whoever reviewed at GameSpot, you know how they are. And like, that's the whole thing of like, this is a great time for you to find someone whose voice you know and appreciate and understand and go that way.
Yeah. For me, Eco was always a great game, but I was, I think, too young to love it at the time it came out. And also I think that it was too young in the PS2's life cycle to really be able to be the game that it wanted to be. But overall, I thought it's a great game. Shadow, fucking love that game. This kind of feels like a weird in-between, where it goes back to the good and great things, where it's somewhere in between those two things, where I'd say Shadow is great and Eco is good. The gameplay feels way more like Eco, but the epic moments feel way more like the epic moments from Shadow.
Yeah.
And they make it worth it. They make the kind of the more simple puzzles and all that stuff feel like it's worth the frustrations, because there are many frustrations, like going through it all. And it's like, there's more often than not, I would know how to solve the puzzle, but then it would become trying to make him listen or try to make the controls work in my favor.
Yeah.
But I was telling Colin this, like, to me, this game is Inside in 3D. And with that comes all the good and all the bad, because it's very rare that games translate from 2D to 3D that well, because things like camera get introduced. Guess what? The camera fucking sucks in this game. That's going to be a thing no matter what. When you take a giant creature and put him in tiny corridors and you need to focus on him and this other little dude, that thing's going to go fucking haywire. But when you go out in the wider, expansive areas and like the big towery things, like then the scope starts to fit. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, cool. This is why being in 3D makes this game worth dealing with all the bullshit. And again, like, it's a lot easier to control even like jumps and platforming in 2D than it is in 3D.
Sure.
And the camera all plays into that. But him grabbing ledges, why can he grab this ledge and not that ledge? The game has rules, and sometimes I feel like it's not fully consistent with them, and that isn't good. that's a problem with game design, especially when that's all this game really has is pretty, story, thematic, symbolism, like all these words, but then really it's just puzzles, right? Like this game is just a puzzle game. So for the puzzles are great. I think that they're just as good as anything in Inside from understanding how to get through this room, understanding how to get through that room. They're varied enough where you very rarely are doing the exact same thing over and over and over.
Mechanics from other puzzles are brought back, but used in a different way.
But in different ways. I like that, and I'm definitely going to not spoil anything, but pretty early on, you get different types of things to do, whether it's like telling him what to do or losing your little
mirror shield,
whatever the fuck it is. Which I thought was good because it's like, I feel like very easily the game could have just relied on that for the entire game.
Sure. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a mechanic used longer than it was.
Yeah, and it's like pretty early on, it goes away, and it's like, cool, great. So then it introduces the soldier guys, and everything I'm talking about, it's in the first hour and a half of the game, and stuff that we've seen in E3s and stuff. But I liked that it just continually kept adding new elements that made it feel rewarding to want to keep going. Again, though, I think that this game could have learned from things like Inside, where Inside was a tight experience, gave me everything I needed. I did not need that game to be a second longer than it was.
Yeah.
This game, I wanted it and expected it to be a 5 to 6 hour game, and I understand that there's a long development cycle and stuff, but like that doesn't, I'm not one of those people that believes that for every year that this game's developed, I deserve 3 hours of gameplay time. It's like, no, give me the right experience. Right. And I feel like it was stretched out a little bit much. Like there was a couple moments that do repeat from a story perspective where I'm like, all right, I had Uncharted syndrome with a couple things where some of the set pieces started to feel repetitive, where I'm like, this was super cool the first time, but in Uncharted, when it's like, it's always the last second when
he jumps
and grabs the thing right before it blows. And it's like, that happened in this game over and over and over and over. Like how many times are bridges going to fall? And he jumps. And then he makes it.
Yeah.
But you make it, but he almost doesn't make it. And it's just like, okay, I get it. And it's cool and it's beautiful, but it starts to feel less cool as it goes on. But then towards the end, it gets amazing from a story perspective, not from a gameplay.
So
the gameplay is consistent through the whole thing.
Was the ending awesome? I've heard. I know what the ending is. I've talked to people about the ending.
I mean, again, it's one of those things where I really believe that if this game was half as long as it would be a lot more powerful.
Yeah.
Because every moment would feel like it was building towards something. With this, I feel like the pacing's just off enough to go to good instead of great. Mm-hmm. Because the end is fantastic, and like you can't just look at the end, but playing through at least enough of the game to understand it and then seeing the end, it's fucking powerful and it's cool. And it's very much like Inside, where it's like, what the fuck happened in this game? Like, I know I could tell you exactly this happened, then this, which resulted in that. But like, what does it mean?
Yeah.
What's the symbolism for how does this relate to the other games, if at all? Like, it really makes you think, and it's cool. And I'm a little surprised that you don't like it as much as you do simply because of Portillo. Like, I don't have pets.
Yeah.
And immediately, my first thought was like, oh my God, I can't imagine having a pet that I cared about playing this game.
Yeah.
Because that thing, it's like Trico or Torico or whatever the fuck the guy says, he's the homie. And like, it's different than just being a character in a game. Like, it feels like an animal that is your animal, an animal that is bonded with you. And you communicate with it, but it does feel like you're communicating with an animal, which can be frustrating and not fun. And I'm not saying that like that's why I like this game. It's not. But I think that they did a great job of just the way that he animates and the way that he moves is believable enough that it feels like a character that I've never seen before in a game or a movie or anything. It's like there's a bond with that's different than a bond you have with amazingly well-written characters. Like, yeah, Nate and Elena, they're awesome in Uncharted. And I think that like the Uncharted games and the Naughty Dog games are in a league of their own when it comes to characters and their relationships with each other and how non-playable characters are so important to you. But with this, it's like beyond a non-playable character, it's a animal.
Yeah.
And you care about that animal the way you'd care about a pet. And I think that's the thing, is this game makes you care. And I was motivated to keep playing through it despite its frustrations. And I do think that at the end of the day, totally worth it. It was worth all of it. It was worth the millions of delays and the years and the trailers and all that. this game is what they promised. This game is what they showed us years ago. Like, and that's something that I want to give them credit for in comparison to Final Fantasy 15, because what we got from Final Fantasy 15 was not what I saw 10 years ago. What we got for Last Guardian was what I saw however many years
Real
ago.
short. I mean, in the first 15 minutes, they show what is the first screenshot ever released from what would become the Last Guardian. I remember when Roper and I at IGN, when that screenshot came out and making the blog roll image or gumball image at the time, and like I when it pops in the game, I was like, oh fuck, I remember that. You know, the chain going down the well and like the cover off to the side. I was like, yeah, I fucking remember this. That is neat that they kept that in there.
Yeah, and it's a nice journey overall. Like being able to play it and see all the thought put into every piece of the game. Because again, it's an art game. You know, we did a review about Inside, and it's like, not only is this a video game to be a video game, this is a video game to be art.
See, and that's when I get the most frustrated with Last Guardian, is that, yeah, it's an art piece and you're trying to tell me this awesome story. So, I mean, like, I feel like it's sloppy then in gameplay and it's sloppy in mechanics. And why wouldn't anybody put a premium on that to tell the story you want to tell, right? Because you keep bringing up Inside. I mean, like, Inside is... my problem with Inside is the ending, right? Where I was just like, what the fuck was this all for? But the reason I think that is one of the game of the year candidates is that it is so much fun to play. It is so well done. It is the right balance for me. And obviously I'm being as subjective as possible. It's the right balance for me of, man, this puzzle, there's the answer. Now I know what I'm doing. Okay, cool. Maybe I was stopped. I think I got stopped once and it was for like, 5 minutes, I think I said in our review or whatever. Like, that has such a great flow, and it isn't a minute longer. And it's just, oof, man, what a masterclass in gameplay of point A to point B. Of that first time the dogs are introduced and they're chasing you, and you get away just in time, so you understand this is what's going to happen. Don't do this again.
Yeah.
Whereas this one is, I understand he's like, it's. I guess that's probably. I mean, like, I don't know. I'm not trying to bash. I mean, I understand that he's an animal, but the inability for him to be such a cocksucker and jump straight up when he knows I want him to jump across this bridge. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing where I'm like, I don't give a fuck about this guy. I keep stabbing him in the fucking face. He sucks. You know what I mean? Like, do what I'm telling you to do. I tell Portillo to jump on the couch. He jumps on the couch. He doesn't jump on the love seat. Took years to do. Now I tell him to pee. He'll pee anywhere he wants. But I mean, again, it's this weird thing with it where I understand why people like the game. I understand what it is. I don't hate The Last Guardian. I'm sure that's how I'll be painted the rest of my life now that I hate The Last Guardian or something like that. It's just so frustrating. I mean, like, you know, for full transparency with the audience, like, I sat down on Friday before the embargo. You guys were both out, and it was Nick and I here. We sat down and did a Let's Play. And it was that thing of, I'm trying to play a new part. It was a new area we got to or whatever. Nick's asking me questions about the game. And then it was that I was getting frustrated because I was trying to do something and I'm jumping off. And then it wasn't being clear how I was getting caught. If the cone of vision for these, and I'm like, I just stopped the Let's Play. I was like, you know what? Stop. We're not putting this up. Like, I'm ratcheting up my anger and frustration with this game when it's not probably that high, but putting it in this context of making content about it and talking to the audience, talking to Nick, it's making it look even worse. I'm not trying to take away from anybody who likes these games or likes this one or thinks they might like it. It's the exact same thing I was talking about, where if you're like me and don't like what I'm talking about and usually fall with me, maybe you're with me, maybe you're not. It doesn't matter. It's not us against them. It's me trying to give you an opinion for you to make your purchasing decisions on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, the last thing that I want to compliment the game on is the emotions that I felt while playing it, because it isn't just the like sadness or whatever, but like there's fear. There's a lot of moments of like not understanding what's going on. Like even when Trico does things to the character, and you're like,
oh yeah, are you eating me?
Yeah, like and there's moments it's like, what the fuck's happening?
Yeah,
and that affects the way that you play the game too, because it's like you're kind of scared to do certain things, or when you do face off against the guys in their cone of vision and shit, trying to rationalize and figure out who the fuck are they?
Yeah.
Why are they doing the things that they're doing? And I think that, again, it's one of those games like Inside where you're constantly questioning why things are happening and what's going on. And I feel like at the end it pays off. And I think it pays off from a gameplay experience and story level. It's just that the moment to moment gameplay can be a little bit too frustrating to be worth as long of a drawn out experience as it is. Mm-hmm. And I do think this game could have been way tighter, been way better because of it. But I recommend trying it. I don't think it's for everybody. I actually know that it's not for everybody, in the same way that even Shadow and Eco aren't for everybody, especially Eco. But I also think Inside's not for everybody. Limbo's not for everybody. So it's like, you need to, if you want to like this game, you're going to like this game. And if you don't, you're not gonna. It's definitely super abstract from a story standpoint and super archaic from a gameplay standpoint.
And that was the thing is like, I don't want to take away from, when I was complaining about the controls and complaining about them being antiquated, right? And I do think it's a weird thing of like jumps on triangle, right? And like stuff like that. I think that is weird. I would have changed that stuff, but I do think that there's a place for cumbersome controls that then make you feel like you're in that experience. Shadow, I thought, did such a great job with that. Where Shadow, when you're trying to crawl up shit, is so weird. You're like making claws on the controller, but it made sense because you're this little guy crawling on this giant thing. Now, granted, you're a little man climbing on a Trico or whatever, but that's not even one of my cumbersome control complaints, right? Because it is just hold triangle and press up. Or I think it might even be tap triangle, like a toggle and go up. Just weird. Weird.
Yeah, it definitely is weird. And another thing, a compliment and a complaints about it. Compliment is I say the animations are one of my biggest compliments to Inside was the animations and how there was an animation for almost everything.
Yeah. Same
thing with Last Guardian, but again in 3D, where it's like I'm surprised at how many animations both the boy and Trico have for so many different scenarios. The complaint though is it's so suspension of disbelief inducing where the boy fucking will fall from like 1,000 feet and just kind of like fucking like I've seen like fall down the rocks and I'm just like getting knocked by Trico and fucking land on his head. I'm like, God damn, that kid is fucked.
But I did like that mechanic of there's no health bar. If you take one of those falls, you get up and you're like hobbling and like you'll hit the call button. It's like I was like, oh, that's cool. I like that.
But it is kind of weird. It's just weird to see because it's very disparate from the rest of the game because there's some real violent shit that goes down. And it's like, God damn, this is horrifying. And then you just see the kid fucking get mauled down a fucking rocky mountain and just kind of limp for a bit and then be okay. Well, yeah. What about you, Call?
I don't know that I have much input on it that you guys haven't touched on already. I mean, just in the hour I played, I walked away from it a little bit. I was impressed in some ways and I think confused in some ways. I actually laughed out loud when it told you to jump with triangle. I actually did. I started laughing and I went into, because I knew in my heart, I'm like, you're not going to be able to change this. And I went into the options and I'm like, who the fuck jumps with triangle? There are just certain things that we just don't do. This is what I was saying before about how all shooters should control the same. And I think that there should be some sort of like, some sort of basic standard in the way we use face buttons in kind of games like this, and I was a little confused by that. I actually agree with Greg in the sense that I think Eco and Shadow of the Colossus were interesting games, and I think this game is actually a direct lineage to Eco specifically, but Shadow of the Colossus annoyed the fuck out of me because of its control scheme. And when you go back and look at it, I guess it makes sense from a gameplay perspective. I think that it felt even old in 2005. So I'm confused how the design philosophies of the game that was, probably embryonically created in 2006 or 2007. No one was like, guys, we have to make this game feel a bit more modern. And you immediately get the vibe that it was just made in a vacuum, the exact way they meant to make it. And that's fine. And I respect that, but it was a huge turnoff to me from a control perspective. I like I was impressed specifically about how Trico looks. I think the game's beautiful. I also think the game looks super old from texture design, from texture standpoint, and like this game looks like it can run on PS3, with the exception of Trico, who I like actually like the first time you go outside and he stretches or something, you look at him, I'm like, holy shit! Like
his face too.
Yeah, he looks really impressive. The feathers and the lighting on him,
his butthole, you guys see the butthole?
He does. Oh, I climbed right up in that butthole.
Yeah, it's a damn detail.
Yeah, you saw that. That video clip exists somewhere on a hard drive.
So I'm looking at like I have a lot. I was once I got over the fascination of being like I'm playing it. It exists and here it is. I just was like I'm kind of bored and I don't need to play this. That's kind of the way I felt it, and I felt that way about Shadow too, where. I played Shadow of the Colossus. I actually couldn't afford it in college, and I didn't play it until I moved here. I played it in 2007. Mark Ryan, our old colleague at IGN, lent it to me, and I played it, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, why does it control like this? And I have a very, admittedly narrow vision of the way games should control and specific, these third-person games. And so I found myself somewhat frustrated with that with this game, too. Again, it develops more questions than answers for me where I'm like, well, what about this couldn't run on PS3? Why couldn't you make this work? That was like the big thing I was asking myself. I was kind of just panning the camera and looking around and looking at the scope and the fact that Trico's AI clearly isn't very good and that the controls are a little weird, and the game clearly was just lifted out of PS3 and put on PS4. And I left without some technical knowledge, obviously, about. I'm like, what about this is a PS? Why was PS4 necessary for this? That's the big thing because they made it seem like when they moved it, like we couldn't get it to work. I mean, that was kind of what I walked away from on PS3, and I'm like, but why? Why? And so that's my big question now. And I really, more than the game itself, which I think the game's not going to move the needle at all. I don't think anyone's really going to play it, and I think that's really sad because of the provenance of the game and the gestation period of the game and how important it is to our history. But at the same time, I'm hopeful that Sony learns something from this internally. And also, I hope someone can tell the story about what happened. Mm-hmm. Why did this game take so long? And that was I've read a little bit about people's experiences and towards the end, and I'm so glad that people are liking it and enjoying it. And it seems like it's going to be in the 80s on Metacritic, which is great.
Surprising.
It is surprising. I was told months ago off the record that the game's 12 hours long, and 12 to 14 hours, I think was what I was told, and I was shocked by that, and I never shared that piece of information because I was like, I bet you the game's 5 hours long. And I agree with you. The daunting thing for me is like knowing that the payoff's probably pretty good, but knowing that I have to play it for 12 hours and for completely puzzle stupid people like me, that's more like 15 probably. I'm like, there's just no way. I just can't. I can't.
I mean, that's what comes down to for me is, again, I like art. I mean, we all like art games. That's a stupid thing to say. I'd love to experience the story on my own, right? But yeah, I mean, being 3 hours in, maybe a little bit more, no less, but maybe more, and thinking of like it's like literally like sitting at the bottom of the giant steps. They're just like, I could do anything else for another 9 hours. I don't want to climb this. I don't want to do this for 9 hours.
Og Caveman says, with The Last Guardian finally out, the big consensus seems to be that the story is amazing, but the gameplay is terrible. Would this game have benefited more if it were a movie, show, comic, etc., instead of a game? And what other games do you think? Whatever. Okay. Yeah, it's some other shit. I thought that was interesting as a topic for this because I think that this needed to be a game to have the type of resonance that it does, or else it is just a fairly generic story. I think that the fact that you are playing and that there are all those frustrations that you have with Trico, it makes it all worth it, or else you're just getting an attempt at a Miyazaki movie. And I think that that's not a bad thing.
Sure.
But I do think that
you earn your relationship.
You earn the relationship.
This is what I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm saying, but having said that, again, not to beat a dead horse, I don't think it needed to be 12 hours of that. And I think that for you guys, having experienced as much as you did, maybe you should experience a little bit more. There's a couple just key story moments that you need to see just to understand things that happen. But I feel like the end would be just as special, having only had the experiences that you guys had with it. The end is special just because of it does a good job of every single thing happening at once.
Yeah,
is that moment, and it's not really the cap at the end of this entire amazing story.
Gotcha. That's okay. I see. So it's not the product of the journey.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, it is by default just because the only way to get there is that. Sure. But I mean, with things like YouTube and stuff, like, I don't necessarily think it's that horrible of an idea to play enough of this game to get it and to have some type of feeling and then to experience the end just by watching it, because a lot of it is not so much a gameplay experience.
At PSX, what I was talking to a guy from PlayStation who was we were shooting the shit while we were waiting for the panel or whatever. He was like, oh, yeah, but money. He's like, so what about Last Guardian? And I was like, oh, I played it. I don't like it. He's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, and I explained everything I've explained in a shorter fashion. He's like, I would encourage you to keep going because I understand what you're saying with the frustrations, but I don't know if this is game design or just the different side of the line we're all on, right? But he was like, as you learn how to control him and make him work the way you want him to work and stuff, it's you building your relationship. And he's like, it's never going to be 1-for-1, but by the end of it, you understand, and he does control better than he did before. And
that's the thing is, like, I wasn't sure if that was in my head or not.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm not sure if it's in everyone else's head or not.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it does. The more you played, the more I felt like I was in control of what was happening, whereas before it was just fucking a shit show.
Sure.
But I don't know if that was just me learning how to play within the bullshit ass rules,
Sure.
or if it was him adapting and learning, or somewhere in between.
I think again, you and I are similar on the same page, but just on different sides of it, right? In the way of like, I still think it's all just the strings. You know what I mean? So I don't know if I'm ever going to look at this game and be able to get lost in, Trico as my pet. When in reality, I'm like, why did they design him this way? Why can't he jump this way? Why is it so hard to get him to stand on his fucking hind legs and get me up there? All right, he's doing it, but now he's moving his head away when I want it just to be right there for me to, you know what I mean? Like, that would be that frustration. I think is going to be this huge boulder in the way of me ever getting to the end, and what happens at the end matters to me.
Mm-hmm.
This is an ancillary sort of thing, but like a tangent, but the one interesting thing I must admit, Mega Man 8, that I feel like needs to be said, well, not doesn't need to be said, but it's something I want to say, is that this was the first time, this particular game in Final Fantasy 15, were the first time in a long time where I was skeptical of what everyone was saying about it from a critical perspective at websites because of the feeling that there must be some sort of mental, whether cognizant or not cognizant, compensation for what people think your biases are going to be against these games. In other words, these games have been so in gestation for so long that I think the reader is going to look in everything that it's loaded in some way because you don't want to hold its gestation period or its trials and tribulations against it. And I wonder if there was some sort of over or under compensation on either end based on those kinds of things. Because I know that if I was reviewing it, I would have to really shut that part of me off because you're expecting something great based on the way it's been, the way that the development of these two particular games, released a week apart, have gone. And I never really experienced that before, where I went in and I'm like, I can't believe it. You know, like I don't know who's similar. We talk about with fake news. This will go up the same time, I think, actually, as the Game Over Reggae show where we talk about fake news and the stuff about that, where I'm like, wow, I'm becoming really skeptical about everything because there's so much loaded into these games, you know, that we can't they're not normal games and they're not going to be treated normally, whether unfairly, whether good or bad. And so it was the first time ever. I'm not saying anyone's lying. What I'm saying is that I went into it and it's incredibly skeptical about everything that everyone was saying about it.
I think that just is more of a testament to you need to find people that you trust and just, you know, like going into this, I could have told you plus or minus a couple standard deviations what we all would think of Final Fantasy 15 and Last Guardian. That's because I know us. You know,
True.
And I think that when we look at Marty or whoever the hell's at GameSpot still, or, you know, like all those people, it's Jeff like you know that, or Jeff Gerstmann or whoever, it's like, okay, cool. Just knowing them and their history and
what they like and what they don't like.
But I mean, more than that, it's not even about like and dislike. It's about where are they in the industry? Where were they in the industry when Final Fantasy Versus 13 was announced and all this stuff? It's like you need to take all that into consideration because that's how games are reviewed. Games are not reviewed completely unbiased because that's not what a review is. A review is an opinion. An opinion is formed from where you stand.
But I do wonder, I don't think, my whole mind was like, is someone somewhere going to feel like they didn't like The Last Guardian, right? Like, or they don't like Defiant, gets like a 5.5 or a 6, but they're like, people are going to think I don't like it because of the fact that it's had this tortured development. And I'm afraid of that. So I need to buttress it. Or is it the other way where it's like, I really, really liked Final Fantasy 15, but I'm afraid people are going to be hard on me because I'm not taking into account its story, you know, like of the development. And it was the first time I ever went into it where I'm like, I can't think of any specific examples of either of these things happening. But when I woke up and went to Metacritic, I'm like, you know, I think there should be asterisks next to these scores because I think that they're just so, it's like Barry Bonds' fucking home run record where I'm like, there's so many variables in the way we all feel about these products that, I feel like there's going to be great champions for the games and great dissenters for these games in bigger numbers than I think would otherwise be usual because of their provenance as these long in development, much anticipated games. But I'm glad that they're both out so we can stop talking about them.
No, we're never going to stop talking about them. Trust me on that.